Welcome to Weekly Meeple Chat, Week 4. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the Rose King and answer the question, Wars of the Roses as an abstract game.
Interesting.
So we got this, about a year ago, and
Yep.
we really liked this one, and that's why we picked it. So let's take a look at how you play first. All right, so you have a board here, and it's an area control game where you're trying to place the most of your piece. So if this is the rose player, I actually have this upside down, and this is the red rose player and the white rose player. So the red rose player would mark spaces they control with this red piece, and it can flip over to white, which you'll see why in a moment. Each player starts out with 5 cards. And notice that the red player is pointed in the orientation of the crown here. And only the white rose player would be sitting on this edge of the table, and that's why the cards are oriented this way. So let's say red's going first, so they can play any one of these cards. And the Roman numeral here indicates how many spaces in the sword direction to place their piece. So it would be 3 spaces to the left. Now, without thinking too hard about it, I'm just going to place that there, 3, and you use this to orient where you're going to place your piece. So red would count 3 spaces over, 1, 2, 3, and that's where the piece would go on top. Now white would go next. Now let's say white wants to go up 1. So even though it's upside down, it's oriented to how the crown is on the board. So they go 1 up and place their white piece there. And then it would go back and forth. Now the red player can pick a new card or play one of the cards they have. Now you may wonder what these are. Well, you can use these. So let's say as a game is played, and you want to try to get your pieces of like color in groups, which I'll explain why in a moment. Because these territories will be used to determine points. So let's say red's next, and they want to take out a white territory. So they're going to go diagonal right here and replace this with a red, so it would flip over. Now, how are they able to do that? Well, they can do this 4 times. So they would use one of these cards here, one of their knights, to flip a tile over. Now, why would you do that? Well, that's because scoring is based exponentially. So if you have only one of your pieces in a territory, it's worth 1 point. But if you make a territory that's 11 pieces together, horizontally and vertically, it's worth 121 points. So right now, let's say the reason why red did that is because they had a piece here. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be worth 49 points at the end of the game, plus 1 for that one, and it'd be 50, and white would have 16. Now, when does the end of the game happen? Well, the end of the game happens when either all of these pieces are placed, or both players cannot have a play. So back to what I was saying is red could place a card or draw a card. So sometimes you won't have a play, and you're going to draw a card. Now, white might place a card or they'll draw, but once you have 5 cards, you have to play. And if you have 5 cards that have no play, you pass. And sometimes you're forced to use these cards if you're saving them, because let's say you're at the edge of the board and you can't go off the board, but you can go down here to overturn a tile. So you might be forced to do that because, again, you can't draw 6 cards, and you must either draw a card or play a card on your turn. So again, going back to how the end of the game happens, either all of these roses are placed, or both players pass and they don't have a play. So again, using this chart, you count up the territories, and it's basically exponential. So let's talk about now
What would you like to talk about?
Well, let's go to the next tile.
Oh, okay.
Next slide, I should say. Oh, yes. So we're doing things a little bit different this week. So for those of you who watched the previous episodes, we're getting used to this new format here. Oops.
And those of you who don't know us, I'm Julie, and this is my husband, David.
Right, and Rose King came out in 1992. It's ages 10 and up, 2 players. This is one reason why we like this game, because it's a 2-player game. It takes about 30 minutes, but we could play it in about 15, 20. Now, the BGG rating is 6.8. Now, there's been different versions of this game. And it's just not as popular, even though we like it a lot. The overall rank is 1,005 out of over 15,000 games, but its abstract rank is very high at 50 out of 912 abstract games. So let's take a look at the playthrough.
Okay.
So here we are playing it, and this will review the rules I just went over. So here we are with our 5 cards, and you'll see that I'm the white rose player, and Julie is the red rose player, and see how she's orienting her cards in the direction of the crown. Now, one of the strategies of the game is that you have an open hand. So at times I'll play a card in a way knowing that it doesn't help Julie with the possibilities that she has.
Well, and I do the same thing. I
Right.
try not to let you get ahead of me at all.
So notice that she played a 3 down and put her white rose.
No, you had a red rose.
No, red
honey.
rose. Sorry, red
Yep,
rose.
that's okay.
So now I'm going diagonal 2, and that's the card I played.
And this just continues, and like David said, you just keep playing till you can't play any more cards, or there's no more little discs to put down.
So again, you want to try to get your roses in groups. So notice I have 2 white together, so that's 4 points right now. Julia has 2 points because they're separated.
And I'm deciding to draw cards because I really don't want to use any of my special cards yet, and I want to make David use up as many of his as he can to hopefully make it better for me to do something like that.
So let's move on here. See how the game progresses. So you see how I've managed to create a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 group here. That's worth 100 points. Now Julie has a group of 4 here,
Yep.
another group of 4. So she's probably going to try to break up my group of white there by using her knights.
Hopefully. And I want to save them as long as I can, so when I flip you, you can't flip mine back.
Right, that's one of the cool tensions of this game, is that if you use your knights too soon, you might end up making plays that aren't the best while your opponent has more choices.
Right.
So sometimes you're just going to draw up the 5 cards and let your opponent go first. So that's what Julie's doing right now. She's drawing more cards while I play. Now we get towards the end here. And you will shuffle the deck at least once, sometimes
yeah.
twice.
Easy. I think we've done it more than twice before.
Yeah, I think it's usually twice when a game goes this long. So
Right.
here we are with 4 tokens left. I think we both have at least 1 knight left.
That's what it looks like. I think
And so
might
I just
have
played a
2.
knight there in order to break up her grouping. So what I just did there, I broke up her group of 5
Yeah,
and adding it to my big group here.
wasn't very nice.
And so that's one of the key things is to break up somebody's group by using your knights. So if you break up a group of 10 and make it a group of 6 and 4, well, what you just did there is you took that 100 points down to a 36 and a 16, because a group of 6 is 6 times 6, and a group
Right.
of 4 is 4 times 4 is 16. So basically, they just made 46, if I counted right, 52 points. It went from 100 points to 52 points if you're able to break it up into a group of 10 into a group of 6 and 4, for instance.
That's always good.
So the game's about ready to end here. Let's see what happened.
Yeah, just go to the end and we'll see who won.
Oh, so we're counting right now. So we ended when we didn't have any more plays left, even though there was 2 tokens left. And so now you start adding up your territories. And what I do is I'll look for the onesies and I'll remove off a one each. So I'll remove matching areas to make it easier to count. So let's go over now the next slide here.
Okay.
Let's talk about what we like about the game. You go first, Julie.
Alrighty. Well, as David said, it's a 2-player game, and since our boys are always at work, it seems like this is a perfect game for us to play when we just want something quick and fun to play. I used to be able to beat him a lot at this, and unfortunately he has found the secret and can beat me a lot more.
Well, the secret was paying attention to the cards that the other player has.
Yeah, exactly. Even though I'm not a big abstract game lover, I do enjoy this one. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I used to win all the time and it was fun. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all.
Well, you don't really pick it.
I do.
Yeah, even though you don't win as much at this anymore.
I still pick it because I keep thinking, well, maybe this time I'll get them. I like the way the cards play, the way they're laid out, and being able to see each other's cards is helpful. It helps you win or lose. I like the little discs. I think they're very pretty, and the crown is always fun. Sometimes if I get a little frustrated, I might flick it to move it, but it's not mean. And as I said, it can be a little bit frustrating, but it's still fun. It's frustrating when you have something you really want to do, and the other player goes in and sweeps in and changes your whole plan. That part can be a little much of a pain, but other than that, I really enjoy it. What about you, David?
Well, for me, I like it because it's a light, abstract area control game. So it has a nice luck and skill balance. So when you're looking at that board there, there's some luck with the cards, but you do have some skill as to when you play them and when you play your knights.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a nice balance.
Oh yeah.
And it's a quick 2-player filler. Like I said, if we want to play a game, but we don't want to do a long game, and because it's been a long day and we're kind of tired, instead of watching TV, we'll play a game like this.
Yep.
Now, the reason why I gave a check mark to some player interaction, because there's not a lot other than flipping over the roses, and it's not too mean, but you can mess over another player. But see, those plays don't come up that often. It's rare. And if you do it too early in the game, the player can reverse it. Now, it is a pasted-on theme. It really isn't that much tie into the history, which gets to why we asked that question. So, Wars of the Roses as an abstract game. So, if you look here at the answer to that question, the artwork is based historically, and the board is supposed to symbolize, there is a map on the background, symbolize where the battles took place. But that's about it. It really is, I mean, it might make people interested in finding out more about the Wars of the Roses, and what it ended up doing was taking out some of the royal families, and it allowed the Tudors to rise up. So, I mean, I don't know much about English history. I did learn a little bit. I'm more, even though I'm a social studies teacher, I don't know much about English history.
Right.
I know more about the Cold War and World War II and American history. But so, again, if you want to learn more about the Wars of the Roses, this might pique your interest. Unfortunately, though, it's not going to teach you much about the event, other than might encourage you to find out more about it. Yep. So let's look at what we rated the game. So, Julie, you rated it.
Excellent, because I really do enjoy playing it, even though lately I'm not as lucky as I was. I do like it. I like to see if I can beat him. That's pretty much it. I just want to see if I can beat him.
Yeah. And so that I rated it an 8 because there's other abstract games that I think is better, like Tuluva that we've covered and other ones.
That one's frustrating.
But you don't like that one as much as I do. So, but I do like this one a lot and recommend it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I keep an eye on if it goes on sale, because the only reason why we tried this because it was on sale very cheap. It was below 50% off when we got it. Mm-hmm. And we keep an eye on for sales to give it as gifts. And we recommend it to other people as well.
Yes.
Especially those who are looking for great 2-player games.
Yep.
So that's The Rose King.
Thank you so much for watching. Take care.